Everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com back again with another exciting installment of the news. Tom has done a news video earlier today. If you want to check that out, I'm here with some further news. Also, I had a lovely interview with Impact star Eric Young last night, which has now gone out on Tom's podcast this morning. So check that out as well if you'd like to. And also, I should mention as well that cultaholicshop.com is up and running if you haven't seen it already, although you probably have because we've been really hammering it on the old social media, but everything's flying off the shelves. Thank you so much to everybody who's already placed an order. Some items are already sold out. We do have some limited edition items as well. And of course, we are shipping worldwide. So that's cultaholicshop.com. It looks tasty. But now, of course, we are here to talk about the wrestling news. So without any further ado, let's get into some just hit my hand on a chair. Let's get into some lovely headlines. First of all, we take a look at the reason behind a WWE Tag Team's recent split. Next up, we have a look at the original plans for last night's NXT 4-way Iron Man match. It was an hour long. And finally, a former WWE superstar is challenging for the NWA Worlds Heavyweight title. So first of all, let's talk about the reason behind that popular Raw Tag Team's recent split. It's none other, of course, than the Iconics, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Now, it was first reported by Dave Meltzer that in a meeting in late July, Vince McMahon apparently said that he sees Peyton Royce and Bianca Belair also as potential single stars of the future. Obviously, bad news for Billie Kay, bad news for the Iconics if Vince has earmarked one half of the tag team for success, along with Bianca Belair, which, I mean, that's a good thing. And just recently, Mike Johnson from PW Insider seems to have confirmed that, saying, I was told by several people that Peyton Royce is earmarked for a singles push. They've decided that they wanted to push her, and it's not a case of Billie Kay leaving the company or anything like that. Because the abruptness with which the Iconics split up, obviously they had that match on Raw, which was suddenly like a loser leaves town match, a losing team disbands match. It was all very sudden, wasn't it? And it was between the Iconics and Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. The Iconics lost, and just in the blink of an eye, their team is no more. Johnson continues saying, I was told that it's just that they want to push Peyton Royce and try and go in a different direction with her. And as you noticed, Billie Kay kind of got wiped out on Raw Underground. So my guess perhaps is that they're going to take her off TV or put her on SmackDown or somewhere else. But I'm told the reason this happened was not some immediate punishment or immediate issue. He finishes by saying the decision was made that Peyton Royce was one of the people who was going to get pushed going further and that this was their means to an end. So, slightly surprising news perhaps from Mike Johnson there, that this was a long-term plan and that, there's been no incident that has sparked this, because it seemed so sudden, didn't it? It seemed like such a sudden match on Raw, a sudden stipulation thrown in, a quick match also, only a few minutes long, and suddenly the Iconics, who remember are former women's tag team champions, are no more. I wonder how this is going to play out in the future for both Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, because obviously you might think Billie Kay is under a bit of pressure now, considering she is not the one who they are looking to push as a single star. What's going to happen to her? But also, what's going to happen to Peyton Royce? And will the fact that both women have quite a similar gimmick, quite a similar character, work against each other? You can't, be having two such similar gimmicks running around doing totally separate things as single stars, can you? On the other hand, on a positive note, I will say that both Billie Kay and Peyton Royce are incredibly creative, incredibly charismatic individuals, and if there was any justice in WWE, both would go on to do good things. Now, obviously, that's not always how things pan out, but at least they've got a little bit of a spark about them. Next up, I'm going to talk about a little bit of an NXT spoiler here. So if you haven't seen NXT last night, because it was on, remember, Tuesday night this week, then please skip ahead now. Right, so if you saw NXT last night, you'll know that the main event was that 4-way Iron Man match, hour-long Iron Man match for the vacant NXT Championship, which Killer Kross had to vacate, or Karrion Kross, had to vacate because he got injured. And you will have seen as well that right at the end, it was Adam Cole managing to tie things up with Finn Balor, which meant that the match ended in a tie. They both had 2 falls each, and there's no champion as of now. William Regal came out and said, right, next week on NXT, we're going to have Cole versus Balor one-on-one, and the winner will become the next NXT champion. But apparently this was not the only planned finish for the match. Apparently there was another finish in mind, which was a little bit different actually, a little bit strange. So, according to WrestleVotes on Twitter, who often are quite accurate with these sort of things, the 2 ideas for the finish of tonight's main event match were either so they say the original plan, which actually happened, or the alternative plan, Pat McAfee costing Adam Cole the match. Very interesting stuff. Now, WrestleVoter's tweet doesn't really clarify whether Pat McAfee would have costed Cole the match outright and Balor would have become NXT champion, or whether McAfee would have just cost him from winning the match outright and we would have still ended up with the tie that we got. I wonder, in fact, if next week we could see Pat McAfee get involved and cost Adam Cole, because if they've put that idea off this week, it may not have been scrapped entirely. We might even see him getting involved next time around, and that would continue, of course, the feud between McAfee and Cole, and I'm guessing it would lead to another match between the two down the line. Not necessarily a bad thing, considering that their first match was a good one. Other people have been speculating online, though, that next week perhaps we're going to see maybe some kind of incident involving some of the Undisputed Era. Maybe they'll kick Adam Cole out, maybe someone else from the Era will split and cost him. Various different possibilities, all involving some kind of breakup for the Undisputed Era. But next week, we'll have to wait and see what happens. And that moves us swiftly on to our next piece of news, which is that two big matches are set for next week's NXT, which is looking pretty stacked. We already know one of them. One of them is the Adam Cole versus Finn Balor Sudden Death Overtime Edition, as the fallout of this Iron Man match that happened this week. So it's Cole versus Balor. The winner becomes NXT champion. Both men, of course, are former NXT champions. Cole more recently, Balor quite a long time ago now. And I think Balor's probably going to win, but that's not an official prediction. The other match announced is a big match in the women's division, a steel cage match between two of the more dominant stars recently. Rhea Ripley, who was, of course, well, she was on a tear, wasn't she? And then she lost to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania earlier this year, but she's still one of the most dangerous names in the NXT women's division. She'll be taking on, inside a steel cage, Mercedes Martinez, an absolute star, a legend of the women's independent scene in North America. She's appeared in AEW, she's appeared in WWE, she's been in the Mae Young Classic, she's awesome. I'm really excited for that match. Tensions have been bubbling between the two. Martinez has been aligned with Rob Stone of the Robert Stone brand, and also, of course, Rhea Ripley has been against them. So I understand that this seems to be the way they're going, and Rhea Ripley was the one to put out the challenge. Mercedes Martinez accepted the challenge later in the show, and the match was made official. Could be very, very good. Next up, this week on WWE Main Event on Hulu, there is an absolutely huge match between two very, very good wrestlers who are, I don't even think it's debatable, who are arguably underused in WWE currently, but who are underused, I think it's fair to say. The two men in question are Ricochet and Ali, Mustafa Ali, of course. And Ali was actually, well, he took to Twitter and put a very interesting post up there plugging the match, but in a bit of a potentially dissatisfied way, and who could argue with him if he was actually dissatisfied? So Ali said, this match is on WWE Main Event this week. Seriously, I know. Catch it on Hulu. That seriously, I know, kind of speaks to a lot of us as wrestling fans, doesn't it? Like, how are these two ultra talented guys having this match on Main Event when it could headline any indie show in the world? At least put them on like Raw or SmackDown with this match. Both men are, of course, currently on the Raw brand. Ali was moved over despite apparently being the SmackDown hacker, but that was never confirmed in storyline officially. All signs pointed towards Ali, and then they just dropped it. They just dropped the storyline, and we've never found out who the hacker is. Maybe it could be linked to Retribution, but obviously we recently learned that Retribution is going to be Raw exclusive now. Very polite of them, very polite of an anarchistic group to just limit themselves to just Monday nights. That's really nice. So I'm guessing the hacker isn't, linked to that, because the hacker's on SmackDown, or was. Retribution's now just totally on Raw. And Ali is also totally on Raw now, probably not the SmackDown hacker. Ricochet has been aligning himself with Apollo Crews and Cedric Alexander and pretty much getting kicked in by the Hurt Business quite a lot week in and week out. What's going on? Why are these two lads why are they both not in more effective and more prominent storylines? I don't understand. I'm a big fan of both, so maybe I'm biased, but do let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Hopefully they go absolutely all out on Main Event and prove to everybody what WWE are missing by not putting them on Raw or SmackDown. The end of that was a bit janky, but we're going to keep it in. And finally, a former WWE superstar who was released when all those people were released earlier this year is set to challenge Nick Aldis for the NWA Worlds Heavyweight Championship. Last night, NWA uploaded a video announcing that Mike Bennett, formerly known of course as Mike Kanellis, husband of Maria Kanellis, will be challenging Nick Aldis for the title at the Primetime Live show on September 15th, 2 weeks away. It's a big match for the NWA because they haven't been able to do much quite a lot since lockdown started. So it's the first big NWA title match in quite a while. A lot of name value is still attached to Mike Bennett / Kanellis because he has recently departed from WWE. And I'm wondering, how is it going to go? I mean, logically, you'd say that Aldis is going to retain, but maybe they could pull a bit of a shock, put the title on somebody new, and get a bit more attention back on their product. The NWA has actually hit prominence a little bit recently, because we all know now, of course, that Thunder Rosa, the NWA Women's Champion, is set to take on Hikaru Shida for the AEW Women's title at All Out this weekend. I am just really wanting Thunder Rosa to win, like a lot. I don't know why that is, but anyway, a lot of people are suggesting maybe that Shida will win the match just because, it's AEW, it's her promotion, they're probably going to put her over. But again, would they pull a similarly shocking move to maybe Mike Bennett beating Nick Aldis? Would they have Thunder Rosa beat Hikaru Shida and shock the world a little bit? I kind of hope they do. I'm a big Thunder Rosa fan, and I'm interested to see what happens. Anyway, there could be a draw. There could be a draw. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this news video. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. Check out cultaholicshop.com for that sweet merchandise. And of course, as always, stay safe, stay positive, and I'll see you very soon.